going to be very slow off the starting blocks. Thank you very much for that. I always remember somebody saying that if you want to spark up your talk, dig yourself a very deep hole that you have to clamber out of. And I think Al has done that for us tonight to be able to present in 6 minutes. But the title here, Live It, should have been Love It. Thank you for the typo there. Respect it. But that's what the message has been through about in everybody's talk, I think, that it's only that love of something that allows us to do it in the first place. This is Kilimanjaro, the first of the 7 summits. And it was really affirmation to me that a dream that exploded in my head when I went to Everest as a journalist might actually materialize and be more than that. And the second of the 7 summits is McKinley here. I'm very aware that I'm talking to several people in the room who've climbed this mountain and many of the others that I'm going to talk about. But this was about training and preparation and about risk, in that it was the first time that I came face to face with the dangers in the mountains. Also, the realization that the skills you think you have to have are very different than the ones you actually need, which are largely about looking after yourself in a harsh environment, drinking enough, eating enough, sleeping enough, all of which I have a natural aptitude to do, so I'm quite well advantaged. That was Elbrus, and now into Carsten's pyramid. And a couple of the images here really to illustrate as well that although mountains are in part about striving for the summit, another message that's come through repeatedly, it is the adventure to wild, remote places and the people that you meet along the way. A penis gourd sticks out the photograph here. The reason they wore them was for modesty, apparently, but believe me, they are handbags that they carry tobacco and money in. This was the penultimate summit of the 7, which is Aconcagua in South America. A straightforward climb in season, which is about now, between Christmas and February. We climbed it out of season, and that was me vomiting on the summit. And finally, the last mountain, which of course was Vinson in Antarctica. No people in Antarctica. I wasn't looking forward to it in the same way because of that. That had been such a big part of the journey. But it was more than supplemented by the extreme beauty of that place. And, of course, Everest, which allowed me to do it in the first place. This mountain, hands up people who've climbed it here. There must be words. Neil here. I was talking to earlier, several people. So I'm talking to the initiated, but not too difficult, been said many times, just a bit too high. The first obstacle from the south side is through the Khumbu Icefall, and it always strikes me how some things feel frightening when they're not actually very dangerous, and other things don't feel so frightening when indeed they are. And Everest is sort of upside down like that. The first obstacle is this icefall, where you're aware that you're climbing through a frozen icefall about 3,000 feet of jumbled ice that can topple over at any point. But in actual point of fact, although my heart was pounding, nothing happened, and very rarely do people have accidents at this sort of altitude on the mountain. It's here, on gentle slopes that looks nothing more than Snowdon, where the accidents occur, because simply there is very little oxygen, about a third of the oxygen at the top. We, as human beings, are visitors that can travel to this part just for a very limited space of time. Generally speaking, we're talking about 24 hours. If you're benighted up there, chances of survival are absolutely tiny. And though it seems perverse, you could say, it is from this high camp, Camp 4 and above, into that melodramatically but nonetheless poignantly named death zone that it's all about. In my case, it would have been utterly impossible without these two guys, Ang Pasang on the right and Kami Cherry, and one other, Cherry Jambu, who's going to pop up in the next slide. But we had a slow ascent. We got to the South Col. We had to retreat from there for various reasons. Complicated, one of our guys got into trouble. And we made a tough decision not to go, actually, a night when, believe it or not, 38 people got to the summit, which at the time in 1993 was more than the history of mountaineering had ever seen. So I felt crucified by that. But a week later, because of these two Sherpas, and 3 in total, we were able to retrace our steps back up to the South Col and give it another shot. Honestly speaking, the chances seemed very slim. I put it about 1 in 100. But We went in the hope that the weather forecast, which was very high winds, would be wrong. It was the end of the season, we were tired, we were very thin, but we stuck our necks out a bit, and here you can see Ang Pasang and Kami Cherry on the southeast ridge of Everest. I'm represented by my thumb here over the camera lens. The third Sherpa, Cherry Jambu, sadly had to stay back with a hacking cough. To be there on this mountain, just the three of us at this sort of altitude, was fantastically privileged, and also, I have to say, I felt a smile spread across my face on this last summit ridge that we did against the odds with the weather forecast as it was. We were lucky that we had the chance to climb along the summit ridge and finally to the top. One Sherpa taking the picture, the other here with me. Neither of them had been to the top before, so it was a first for all of us, and they're extremely demonstrative people. I don't know where they got their energy from, but they managed to leap up and down with the excitement of it all. And that excitement, short-lived though it was, because it was about 12:20. We were in reasonably good time, but we knew we had the journey back down again to the south summit. And it's here that we were finally there, and in my head, this was the time when I could draw breath and relax and think, yeah, we'd got to the top and safely back down. And our lovely Sherpa had waited there, making sure we had something to eat and drink. The message, love it, had I not loved it, had everybody here not loved what they did, they surely wouldn't have been able to do it. Respect I put in there because, you know, respecting the environment you work in, the people you're with, is largely what it's about, to climb one mountain, look to the next, and be able to climb that one too. Thank you very much.